Guys doing this is very important in reference to the history of McDonald's, a little McDonald's museum, and other restaurants and businesses and history of things. Lots of things of importance, but somebody had communicated that this woman and this stolen child, it might not even be my child, in reference to some woman from the McDonald's Corporation. I'm not sure. They're in the CIA. The lady's illegal. My mother had delivered documents. My mother, Doris Duke, had delivered documents to Indianapolis back in the 80s in reference to my ownership of things or something, in reference to things that I own, in reference to my mother and father's estates. And I guess she delivered it to the courts or to one of the offices in Indianapolis, my biological mother. And this woman in the FBI had tried to copy my mother's identity prior to them murdering my mother. This lady had stolen videos of my mother when my mother had made VHS tapes, and she tried to send them to me when I was held hostage here. And this woman tried to steal my mother's name at McDonald's. Like some people say, they thought my mother was Mrs. McDonald's of the McDonald's Corporation, and in reference to my father had many names, or you have to look up the information so to make sure it's right on things. So in reference to this lady, she tried to steal my mother's name and corporate name at many businesses and companies that my mother owned, and she's one of the ladies that tried to murder me, this lady. And she works in the FBI or the CIA. She even communicated that she was one of the women that was burning my mother in Beverly Hills, and that she was one of the women that had been burning my mother and spying on my mother in New York and New Jersey, the CIA woman that tried to steal my mother's identity. This lady has possibly been using one of my mother's corporate names in reference to business history, and this woman and some of her conspirators, they even tried to steal the McDonald's ranch, and they tried to steal the McDonald's mansion in Las Vegas or something, and they tried to steal the McDonald's mansion in Beverly Hills and Bel Air, or wherever, in Hollywood. There's a few properties in reference to certain acknowledgments, but they're documented. But the woman and this illegal child that they had stolen had tried to murder me, and they tried to steal the McDonald's ranch. They tried to steal the McDonald's mansion in Las Vegas. They tried to steal other properties with these stolen children or this stolen child. So, it's going to be court cases, and they need to get arrested, whoever they are. And the McDonald's Corporation needs to know who these people are, where they came from, what their DNA is, what race and religion they are, and what their affiliation is to government, such as their ties with the CIA or FBI. And the IRS needs to find out who this lady is, because my mother had investments in lots of restaurants, my biological mother. And anybody that tried to assume the identity of my mother, those names are copyrighted. I'm the owner of all my mother and father's corporate names, business names. Everything's copyrighted, and I'm the owner of my mother and father's estates and companies and businesses forever. So whoever these people are, people need to look into that information. It's supposed to be public information in reference to who these people are, and it's very important. So in reference to these people that have done these things, and these people that's been terrorizing my life, the McDonald's Corporation and other fast food restaurant industries need to know, and all restaurants, and the public needs to know who these people are. Role protocol, my identity's in the media 24 hours a day. It's been there since I was born.